Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. All right, this is part 2 of searching Palantir on TikTok. Now, I did part 1. I'll leave it in the description. If you're not into this type of content, that's totally fine. You don't have to watch this. I thought this would be a little bit more fun, lighthearted type of piece of content. Just something a little bit more sit back, get some food, just kind of watch my reactions as someone who's really invested and understands Palantir to like these TikToks around Palantir. TikTok is one of those platforms that I think is good for short form entertainment, and it's like engaging and you can get addicted to it, but you scrolling after 30 minutes and you might not know a single thing you've consumed after those 30 minutes, which is kind of like the downside towards it. Whereas YouTube, you could say the same thing about YouTube, but at least you're listening to someone for 5-7 minutes, you're watching them, you're trying to understand an argument. So it's a little bit more of an immersive, engaging experience. YouTube is more like television, whereas TikTok is like these short kind of bits of pieces of content that can be valuable, but it's not as valuable as like watching sort of something that's a little bit more long form. Like a movie sticks with you most of your life more than like a 30-second TikTok. As a result, the stocks and investing community on TikTok, I think, is not as developed as the stocks and investing community on YouTube. Now, there are some clowns on YouTube, I would agree. I hope no one thinks I'm one of those clowns because I try to provide really good quality analysis and try to make it at least entertaining. But a lot of people on TikTok only have 60 seconds to make an argument, right? So it's kind of hard to really get a lot of it out there, especially when you're just like trying to get as many as you can out per day. So it's a little bit less deeper in terms of the analysis. Nonetheless, it is showing some of what the public thinks about stocks like Palantir, because I don't expect them to be the most sophisticated investors and sophisticated people that take time to make a big video like it does on YouTube, where you should know at least a little bit about the company if you're trying to make a video. And you're just like average people that are just like talking about the market. So it's good for me as an investor to understand what is the public perception. And I would say TikTok is like decently representative of the public of the stock. And on part 1, we got some decent public perception, but we also got some negative public perception, which makes sense to sort of understand the holistic view that people have on Palantir. So we're doing part 2. We're going to see what people think about Palantir on TikTok, and let's get into it.
Let's talk about Palantir. Back in December, I told you I was holding my Palantir position. After my position rose over 100% in a month. Since that video, the stock has risen another 35%. The stock up so much, should I take my profits and run? Let's analyze. Palantir is a leading data analytics company with a total addressable market of roughly $119 billion. The company is led by Peter Thiel, co-founded PayPal with Elon Musk. So Palantir has a massive market opportunity and top management, but what about the valuation? Let's analyze more! My financial models show that Palantir has a 2022 fair value of $34, which is near where the stock is currently trading. Since I like Palantir's business but think upside might be limited in the short term, I'm going to take a free ride on the stock. I invested $1,000 in Palantir and the stock rose 130% to $2,300. I would sell enough shares to cover that $1,000 investment and let that $1,300 in profit ride. I still like Palantir long term, but with the stock tripling in 3 months, it's a good time to take some profits.
Interesting. So this guy is named tick.stocks. Yeah, I guess that's a good username that he secured on TikTok. Look, I mean, this was done, what, in February 2021? Look, he was right about this. I mean, like, Palantir running up that much while the entire market was running up, it would have probably made sense to sell. Tripling in 3 months is kind of ridiculous, especially for a stock like Palantir. If the fair value is $35 in 2022 and it's $34 and a massive bull run up in 2021, probably makes sense to sell at that point. So if he sold, then he made decent on that sale.
As you guys know, the stock market has been going down the past week, and last Friday, one of the stocks I've bought a good amount is Palantir at around just below $24 a share. A while back, I did 2 other videos covering what Palantir is, and since then, my view has evolved. Back then, the biggest concern for me is the total addressable market stated by the company in their own S1 is only $119 billion, which is not that much for their valuation. Recently, I spoke to someone on Clubhouse who was previously in the military, and she had access to the Palantir software. She told me that basically much of what Palantir does is way too confidential, and their capabilities and potential goes way beyond what can be stated to the public. Which definitely answered my question, and now I think Palantir can really be truly massive in the next 10 to 20 years. If it drops to $22 or below this week, I'm definitely looking to add more shares. Now,
well, that guy probably should be liking it in January of 2022. This was made in March 2021. Yeah, so the point he was making on the total addressable market makes a lot of sense. I mean, the fact that he talked to someone in the military saying that Palantir is super confidential, I think that has some relevance, but only relevance in the context of they're definitely sandbagging the growth potential. Like, you know, you're telling investors, hey, there's only a $120 billion total addressable market. That's BS to me. I mean, like the amount of verticals that, like even one sector of foundry, which is like helping companies go carbon, that's like a $2-3 trillion industry in the next 20 years. Like getting companies to go net zero by 2050 is a multi-trillion-dollar market. If Foundry can even get a sliver of that by being the operating system to help those companies actually go net zero, which is a very difficult thing to do. And Sachin Sharma, I did a podcast with him. He is a geophysicist. He actually, I'm going to have him on again, but he actually gave a lot of insight to me around, because his consulting work with clients is around corporate responsibility and getting to net zero. It's a very complicated data problem, and it is a data problem at the end of the day. So, I do think their TAM is massively underestimated, and I think the point of that is because probably they want to be a little bit more confidential, but they really do want to sandbag the numbers, because if you beat expectations, it's better than not beating expectations.
Let's talk about Palantir.
Let's talk about the absolutely fascinating new kid on the market, Palantir. Analysts are saying don't buy. Actually, they're saying hold, because analysts rarely say sell outright. They have a share lockup expiring right around the time they announce Q4 earnings in February. A share lockup expiration means that trading restrictions will be lifted for large investors. Stocks typically decline leading up to an expiration because short players are anticipating a sell-off. Right now, the outlook is not so rosy for this stock, but it's like $25 a share. It has a lot of room to grow long term, I think. So one thing you could do is buy some shares during this lukewarm cooling off period, and then at the same time, you could buy a put option just in case investor sentiment weakens even further. Then you have some stock for the long term, but you can still collect some premium profit if the...
Interesting. So she's giving some stock advice. Again, this was when Palantir was in the $25. We have yet to see the 20s for a long time, even though we are in the roaring 20s, but our stock is not roaring yet. So yeah, I mean, you could buy a put, I guess, to hedge.
There's a company that's buying up crap tons of gold, and it's time that you paid attention. It's Palantir, and it's expecting a black swan event. It's a company that predicts future events. How does it tell the future? By collecting a lot of data. It's simple how they predict the future. If I read through your messages that you're going to be hanging out with your friends Saturday night at 8 p.m., then it's probably very likely that you'll be hanging out with your friends on Saturday night at 8 p.m. This way, they've been able to make applications to prevent fraud, terrorism, and tax evasion. Palantir's clients include JP Morgan and multiple government agencies, including CIA and NYPD. So this black swan event, not knowing what it exactly is, maybe one that's terrible enough that we see a smart company like Palantir buy up so much gold.
Well, I mean, the gold thing, we see a lot of people on TikTok talking about the gold thing. The gold thing makes sense to me, primarily because it's like they were expecting some issues with inflation. But I love how he says data. It's like there's a company that collects data. And again, this is sort of going back to the public person. This guy is not like a stocks guy, but he's just like talking about Palantir. And, it's interesting that he, like the sort of core explanation of Palantir is they're a company that collects data and they're able to make sense of the data. And I think as long as the public thinks of that, and they can think of that in a positive light, because there is a lot of positive applications to just collecting data and making sense of the data, then there's a good chance that the price can go up as people think about the stock price in a different way. His YouTube is Han Dol Kim. Let's find him on YouTube right now. Is this guy a stocks guy? Han Dol Kim. Han Dol Kim. What do we get? 3.6 thousand subs. Okay,
I am so excited by
posting look at these thumbnails, bro. Whoa. Those are some... It's a little too much for me. Like, look at it. This is definitely someone who's professionally designed. Look at the Meta logo inside of that thumbnail. Like, that's a really professional thumbnail. Sheesh. Okay, this guy is interesting. All right. Well, let's move on.
Michael Burry, who's best known for calling out...
Oh, Kyla. I like her. She's awesome on YouTube. She's actually one of those people that have just really good insight. She's great. I like her.
2008 is now short Kathy Wood. He was like, innovation? Nah. And Kathy was like, hey, Michael, you don't understand that innovation will prosper and that everything is short term with inflation right now and that things will be great. Burry has done this before, obviously, with 2008 being the most notable example, but he's also done this with Tesla, which Kathy, ironically, owns quite a bit of. In other news, Krispy Kreme is doing well.
So I guess they recommended this video because Kathy owns Palantir, but she didn't talk about Palantir. Interesting algorithm, TikTok. Yeah, I mean, the Michael Burry, Kathy Wood. I mean, I guess Burry was right so far, given like we crashed. Now it's just a question of if these stocks were in deep value, as Kathy said.
Here's why I still think Palantir stock is a steal. If you look at Palantir stock compared to their other competitors such as Snowflake, Snowflake is also trading between a $90 and $100 billion market cap. However, they've only recorded about a fourth or a third of the revenues that Palantir has. Palantir has contracts with the US government and the US Army, and everyone knows that the government overpays for every single thing possible. They've also started to help, like Airbus and other types of private sectors and stuff like that. If you don't know what Palantir is, basically it's a data analysis company that takes hard to read data and deciphers it and spits out more simplified data to help people improve their businesses. My ultimate price target for it is at least $50 to $60 by the end of the year, and next year I'm looking anywhere between the $100 to $200 range. That's just personally how I feel. I could be wrong. Don't take my.
I could be wrong. I mean, I like the guy, but yeah, I think that's too aggressive of a growth target, especially in 2020. I mean, like, I guess you could say that in 2021 if the bull rally had existed past February, but to assume Palantir would get from $10 to $200 in a year, I mean, like, I did a bull case with Sebastian, who's an investment banker. You guys should definitely check out that video. We spent an hour and a half figuring out how we can get to $250 in 2030. And this guy was saying it was going to, like, this is the problem with some of this stuff on TikTok, but it's okay.
Robinhood investors, listen up. A company whose biggest customers are McDonald's and Microsoft is about to go public. This company makes customer experience management software. It helps their customers with marketing, research, and social media. They have over 1,000 customers. Most of them are big corporations. Big data and social media marketing being the future. Keep your eyes on the Sprinkler IPO next week.
Interesting. So the reason this was recommended is because it's called the next Palantir. Sprinkler, huh? Sprinkler targets $5 billion. Let's look this up. Sprinkler. I said sprinkly. Sprinkler. What does Sprinkler do? Sprinkler.com. 9 out of the most top 10 valuable brands trust Sprinkler. The only unified platform for customer. Sprinkler helps the world's biggest companies make their customers happy across 30 plus cities using the most advanced, sophisticated AI engine built for the enterprise to create insight-driven strategies. And that sounds like a Palantir type of description, but like I don't know if they're specifically AI-based insights, publishing, audio. This seems like they're an advertising play. More channels, more data, more expectations. Traditionally, brands have adopted point solutions to manage segments of the customer journey. In isolation, these may work, but they really collaborate. Blah, 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 blah. This is kind of stupid. Okay, I mean, I don't think it's the next Palantir, but generate tangible ROI in 2 days. What type of nonsense? Like, I just already don't trust you if your company says, hey, we're going to get an ROI in 2 days. Like, what type of... I mean, given their clients, I guess the thousands of specialized AI models. Guys, AI is going to be huge. I mean, for this company to have a market opportunity, AI is going to be really, really big. All right, let's do like 3 more and then we're done with this one.
I love the price action today, and I think the stock continues to go higher.
Karen, what do you think?
Yeah, well, this is one of the few high flyer in terms of valuation that I am long. Even with today's rally, I think I'm not at the bottom around 24, so I'm already deeply in the hole. I agree with Guy. I thought it was a really good quarter. I was surprised how it sort of opened, but the whole whoosh down was pretty strong. And, I think the only weak spot, not only, but a main weak spot was international, which I think is a little further behind than we are. So I expect to see good growth there. The U.S. growth was fantastic. So I like it. I chickened out. I didn't buy more.
Do you think that it has just been getting hammered because it's in that crosshairs of the high valuation area, Karen? Which you actually shorted. I mean, you shorted IGV more broadly.
Yes. IGV, right. I did cover some IGV yesterday, covered some today. It definitely falls in that group.
Interesting. This was in 2021. Now, Guy Adamami, again, I'm probably saying his name wrong, but that guy right there, he's the most bullish CNBC guy on Palantir. If you Google him talking about Palantir, like this guy likes Palantir. So, yeah, interesting. CNBC might hopefully cover it more favorably as we get a good earnings coming up. BlackRock invests $278 million in Palantir Technologies. This is when it was $28, guys. That was wild. Look at that volume, 202 million. Like, Palantir.
Palantir, Zoom und so weiter.
Palantir ist auch auf dem aktuellen Niveau überbewertet. Viele wissen das.
I don't know what the guy's saying, but for all the Germans out there, I know I have some love from Germany on my channel. We're not gonna watch that because we don't know what he's saying, but yeah, you guys can help us understand at least the first couple stuff that he said. All right, let's do one more. Here we go. Why am I bullish on the future of Palantir?
The future of Palantir. Palantir works with data, which is considered the oil of the future. Did you know they thrive at protecting their data? Like, so good that they have level 5 governmental clearance, which is higher than all of these companies. While all these companies have had data breaches, Palantir sits at the top with 0, which is why our government is always partnering with them. More partnerships equals more data, and the more data they have, the more sophisticated their systems are, which gives them a better product, which leads to more partnerships, like this one with PG&E, which is said to be worth $200 to $300 million. There is so much more I could get into, so make sure to like for a part 2.
Oh, trust me, invest with Rush. There is a lot to get into, and in fact, there's a whole YouTube channel filled with hundreds of videos to get into Palantir content. Yeah, I mean that was probably the best one we saw today. Data is the new oil. They work with data, and also that P&G contract, $200 and $300 million contract working with California's electric grid or wildfire grid, or like electric grid to stop wildfires. I actually did a video on that a while back in November when I was starting up the channel, so you guys can check that out. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot to cover with Palantir. I think I even saw some of the comments that said people that they love Palantir, they're deep into the stock. It's like there's so much to analyze about Palantir. And again, that goes back to the answer to like why people, it's like, why do you always make videos on Palantir? It's like, because I'm not covering 17 different thousand stocks. I'm not CNBC. I'm not an entire business network. One day I hope to be a one-man business network, and have hundreds of thousands of subscribers. But I'm one person right now. Like, I can't analyze every single stock on the planet. And I've done videos outside of Palantir on market dynamics and Robinhood and Roku and Facebook and some of these other stocks. But I can't literally like go all in on all these other stocks because there's just too much analysis to do on the one stock that I picked. So that's what it is. Let me know if you guys want a part 3. This was interesting. We found some interesting TikToks. There's still some more stuff we can go through. A lot of this stuff is a little bit more older, so it's not that relevant anymore, but it's still decent to see how the public thinks about it. Not too much negative stuff here, more positive TikToks that came out of this. Let me know which ones you guys thought were the best. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. My name is Amit. Thank you for watching. Like for part 3, or don't like for part 3, but like comment if you want a part 3, and I'll see you in the next one.